Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first of our 2026 joint meetings of NYPA and the Canal Corporation. Hope everyone had a great holiday season and is enduring some generally cold and snowy weather, I think, no matter where you are, and many parts of the country, certainly across most of the great state of New York. So we're pleased to have everyone joining us today. With me, my fellow trustees, Dennis Trainor, B. Gonzalez, Cecily Morris, Laurie Wheelock, Michael Cusick, and on video from Point So Far, Lewis Warren is joining us as well. Justin Driscoll and his team and staff are not all present at the moment, but will be joining us as the meeting progresses. As always, this get together was duly noticed as required by open meetings law, and hence I'm pleased to call the session to order. We all had an opportunity to review the agenda as presented, and unless you have any recommendations or changes to propose, I'd ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Thank you, Dennis. A second. Cecily and Laurie, 2A and 2B there. Karen, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Contractors list, again, circulated. Karen and company keep us on our toes there. Hopefully everyone's responded. And if you have any, as I say, late breaking changes, please ensure you so advise and act accordingly.
Chair, the only thing I would note is I disclose that I am a customer of Messina Electric Department that serves our community where I live. And so they're on our agenda today, but I just make that disclosure.
Okay. How's their service? Pretty good. I mean, anything you want to give them 5 stars or 4 stars or anything we can do to, help the.
Excellent.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you. Duly noted. Thank you very much, Cecily. We've got a good agenda to get after today. Obviously, our first meeting at 26. We'll talk about thoughts and ideas. We've been through our plan for the year. Justin and Daniella will give us a drive-by and an overview of what we can expect. Justin talk about the importance of execution and performing and delivering on our very full agenda. There's a lot on our plate. Joe Kessler, his team, take us through operationally. Adam, Alexis, address financial and risk issues and challenges. A couple good updates there, and then we've had a couple committee meetings we'll talk through. But as we typically do, want to start this meeting in exec session. Probably run the better part, of an hour. So if I could, I'd ask for motion to conduct such a session in accordance with pursuant to Section 105 of the Public Officers Law. Thank you, Dennis. B, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We will adjourn to exec session. Thank you very much. Welcome back, and in doing so, I ask for a motion to resume the meeting in open session. Laurie, thank you. B, second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. And as always, no votes taken in exec. What was that?
It is.
Yeah, mic's on.
No one's ever told me they can't hear me.
Mic's on.
That's a first. Hello. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're good.
I can hear you.
We need to rerun it?
Yes. Take it from the top.
Pardon me?
Take it from the top.
Take it from the top, you said.
Beginning.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. To do so, if I could ask for a motion to resume the meeting in open session. Laurie, thank you. B, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. And as always, no votes were taken in executive session. Set up front, good agenda today. Kick off first meeting of 2026. Justin will take us through the bigger picture. Gonna have Daniella support him with a Vision 2030 update. Joe and his team give us operations update. We've got another vessel to name, so we'll have a very brief discussion about that. Strong finish to 25. So Adam will bring us current there. Alexis give us another good risk update after a strong risk committee meeting, and then we've got a couple committee reports. So we'll do our best to maintain some pace and pick up some time a little bit as we go here. That said, don't want to shortchange some important discussion. So Justin, kick us off if you will, please.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Chairman, trustees, NYPA colleagues, members of the public. Great to be with you here today on our first meeting of 2026. As I mentioned last time at our December meeting, a lot to be proud of in 2025, but we're not resting on our laurels. That's in the rearview mirror now, and we're off and running, I think, in what will be a very exciting 2026. A lot of work ahead of us, but like we always are, we'll meet the moment, and we're up to the challenge that's ahead of us. So wanted to first just mention a couple of items from the governor's recent State of the State address related to NYPA's work. One, she announced the nuclear reliability backbone and directed largely the Public Service Commission, but all state energy agencies to work on creating a pathway to 4 gigawatts of new nuclear added to the existing fleet of about 4 gigawatts. This is in addition to the NYPA work to our 1 gigawatt project, which we very much, are viewing as being a first mover and a catalyst for a further build out of the nuclear backbone in the state. These are obviously long-term investments that the state's making to move us toward a 24/7 backbone, complemented with, of course, renewables and our hydro and other forms of renewable energy. So that was the big one, if you will, from our perspective in the State of the State. The Department of Public Service will be working on creating a proceeding to take input on what that looks like. It will certainly be a big participant in that regulatory proceeding. Second, the governor announced what she called the Next Gen Nuclear New York. That's a workforce development issue, very similar really to the work we're doing on workforce on the clean energy workforce of the future and renewables. So she's announced $100 million toward the nuclear workforce of the future. That includes the $40 million over the next 4 years that you approved recently. So up for a total of $100 million toward nuclear workforce. So we'll be a big player in that. And we've offered, and I'm sure that the template we've created around our renewables workforce will be an input into how the state goes about establishing this nuclear workforce training program. Third, the governor directed NYPA and NYSERDA to update our regulations to facilitate and speed up the deployment of projects. So this is in the very early stages. Our legal team is looking at our existing procedures and working closely with NYSERDA to develop a joint proposal around how project regulatory environment, if you will, can be streamlined and simplified so that projects can move along faster. And then finally, as I think we all know, another appropriation is in the governor's proposed budget for $50 million for the canal infrastructure, which we're delighted to be receiving again. We're putting it to good use, as you'll hear about a big infrastructure project that's before you later on today. So another good level of support from the state that enables just additional work to be done. So moving now to our generation work. You may know that just before the holidays at the Niagara Power Project at the Robert Moses Station, we we restarted the first of the 13 turbines that are being upgraded under our next gen Niagara. This work started in 2023, but the first one has been completed now, and so I'm sure a lot of learnings that will come out of that first project that will inform the remaining 12. But this is something designed to make sure that not only that the asset is in a state of good repair, but also maybe actually increasing generation coming out of the plant, which would be great for the system.
Is it a rinse and repeat for the next 12, or are they unique in their own way? Or
pretty much the same, right, Joe? Yes, but the lessons learned out of this first one.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say that.
That's
Yeah.
my point. Yeah.
Yeah, as we learn, I mean, it's a multi-year program. It'll be over a decade, and technology will advance so fast that by the time we get to the ends, it'll be refreshing some of the other ones as well.
Got it.
So on the renewable generation side, a lot of great work being done there. You'll see that's a photo depicting the carport solar project, which we understand is the largest carport solar installation, I think, in the US. And it will have a total, I think, of 12 megawatts of generation. And as I understand, it's 6 megawatts going to the port and the other 6 going to the surrounding community. So it's a great model for combination of supply for the customer, but also a community benefit associated with it. So that's a great project there. We're moving, as I think I've told you before, we're moving to safe harbor as many of our renewable projects as we can before the tax credits start to expire in July of this year. So a lot of great work being done to try to pull as many projects forward to make sure that we're able to take advantage of the federal support that's currently exists. We've already secured exclusivity agreements for projects totaling 350 megawatts. And we're also in discussion with other developers to acquire another 350 megawatts of solar and more than 50 megawatts of battery storage in 2026. I'm also excited that our NYPA-led clean energy workforce training that I alluded to previously is starting year 2 of that work. As we know, year 1 provided an opportunity for us to launch our first projects under this authority. I actually get to meet some of the recipients of this funding, and we're back at it for a second year with roughly 15 to 20 training programs in 2026 with the potential to reach 10,000 students. And some of this, as I mentioned, will be before you in your committee reports later today. Transitioning to our advanced nuclear work. In December, we received an enthusiastic response to the 2 solicitations that we issued earlier in the fall. We heard from 8 communities that expressed interest in hosting the facility, and 23 potential development partners stepped forward with information about reactor technologies, proposed financing options, and delivery partners. And we're currently analyzing those responses now. And later this year, we expect to issue follow-on solicitations to those communities and developers. And at the same time, we're going to be advancing our governance around our nuclear efforts. Licensing and financing work will proceed in parallel.
Did that meet your expectations going in, or?
I think it was more. I think certainly on the community side, I think that surprised a lot of people. And I think we really heard from almost everybody in the nuclear ecosystem, right? That came forward. So a lot of familiar names that we had already learned about in some of our prep work, if you will, going into that. But I think, it surprised on the upside.
Terrific.
Yep. And so as we look to advance those nuclear ambitions, we're going to need partnerships, as I mentioned. And one of the things that occurred at the end of last year was our longstanding partner in Ontario, PowerGen and NYPA. We entered into a memorandum of understanding with Ontario, and we had a great event with Governor Hochul and Premier Ford, and that MOU is designed for a number of things. They're way ahead of everybody else in terms of SMR work in North America. So sort of learning from their experience but also learning from the work that they did about creating a supply chain for the work and creating a workforce, attracting a workforce, retaining a workforce. Those are going to be items that we're going to be wanting to learn more from them, and as well as just how they went about technology selection, what their processes were around that. So we're really excited about working closely with them, and we're starting already to create work streams with them and developing a kind of a coordinated strategy around how we'll work together to advance not only the work that they're doing, but hopefully bring us along. As I said, we're going to be a little behind them, as everybody else in the industry will be, but hopefully in the best position to be able to learn from them, given our existing relationship with them.
Say leverage the very strong existing relationship.
Exactly.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's great. On the transmission side, we talk a lot about the two big projects. And so in 2026, Smart Path Connect will be energized later this year. That will free up another 1,000 megawatts of generation in the North Country that from time to time gets bottled up there. So it's a big contributor to flows over the system, and reducing congestion charges, of course, comes with it reduction in congested fees on ratepayers' bills. So there's a ratepayer component to that work as well, but it's strengthening the system in the North Country, where we have our St. Lawrence facility, and there's been a lot of build out of wind and a lot of interest in further development there. This can only help either attract companies to the North Country with better transmission, but also improve our own operations and our own transmission network. The other big project, Propel New York Energy, moving along through the permitting process with construction. We're planning to start later this year, and we're on track to energize that line, if all goes according to plan, by 2030. Together, Smart Path Connect and Propel, along with other transmission upgrades we've done, will unbottle, as I've said, upstate generation to better serve statewide demand. And I want to congratulate the transmission team for collaborating so well with our partners at National Grid and New York Transco for building these critical segments of that will contribute to a reliable and modern New York grid. One final transmission item, which will be before you later today, is the completion of the Messina Transmission Life Extension and Modernization Project. That investment will continue upgrades in the North Country over our transmission assets there, and where the assets have been aging and expensive to maintain in their current condition. So this upgrade will certainly alleviate some of those issues. And the project at the Messina substation will be substantially complete by 2030, again, enhancing grid reliability and reducing maintenance costs there. Also in the sort of sprint category here in 2026, we talk a lot about the work we're doing in artificial intelligence. We've developed over time a comprehensive artificial intelligence strategy. And its purpose, of course, is to accelerate innovation and deliver measurable business value to the company and to our stakeholders and customers. In December, we established the AI Center of Excellence to align technology enablement with our business priorities. For example, our modern data platform in production this month provides a secure and scalable foundation for enterprise-wide data access. Key initiatives in this regard are for our operations folks, an AI and advanced analytics program to enhance predictive maintenance. For our customers, AI solutions tuned to enhancing their experience in working with NYPA. For our corporate communications people, enhancements using AI-driven content creation and productivity tools. And for our employees, enterprise adoption of tools such as Microsoft Copilot. We're also, in this regard, strengthening our external relationships with entities like the EPRI, or the Electric Power Research Institute, the Large Public Power Council, and academic institutions such as the AI Fellowship at the University at Buffalo. These issues, I think, continue to position us as an industry leader in responsible AI adoption, operational excellence, and workforce development, driving innovation aligned with New York State's clean energy vision. Further details of our plan will be presented this spring. Also, I'd like to take a moment to note a couple of recent events. First, on January 15th, Micron broke ground up in its semiconductor fabrication facility in Clay, New York, just north of Syracuse. And as we all know, I think NYPA played an important role in attracting Micron to New York State, and will provide the facility with low-cost power. The first concrete pour on that work is anticipated for September, and the plant is expected to come online in 2030. And as we know, it's a phased-in development, completed, if all goes according to plan, in 2045. It'll be the largest semiconductor fabrication facility in the country, employing more than 9,000 employees at the site and creating an additional 40,000 jobs there. Second, also in mid-January, we received good news that the U.S. Department of Energy has added our Agile Lab to the U.S. Electric Grid testbed inventory. This is a great honor for the team. They spent about a year trying to get DOE recognition in this regard, and the inventory itself will assist developers of transmission and distribution technology, integrators, electric utilities, and grid operators in identifying test beds that can assess new technologies. This recognition is a testament to NYPA's foresight and the hard work of our Agile innovation team and the staff who developed the Agile effort. And again, validates, as many of these items do, validates our vision of Agile as a tool for de-risking emergency grid technology and increasing speed to market.
Where is that facility in Albany?
Agile, it's at the nanotech.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
we took on space over at nanotech at SUNY Albany there.
All right.
In addition to all that great work on the culture front, results of our 2025 employment engagement survey were just recently tabulated, and we recorded our highest level of engagement, doubling the engagement level since we first launched the survey in 2015. This means our efforts to maintain and grow a strong, resilient culture are resonating in the organization. And of course, higher engagement is associated with lower turnover, stronger productivity, and improved talent retention.
Terrific. That's all. Kudos, congratulations. I mean, really, that's
Thank you.
Kudos to you and the entire team.
Yeah, we're really proud of that. Karina and team did a great job, and it's gratifying to see the results of some of the work that we've been doing.
But it's much more than an HR people initiative. This is organizational culture. So
you take that
to you and the entire leadership team for setting the tone and pace there.
Thank you. And you take that and coupled with some of the recognition we've gotten from Forbes that I highlighted last meeting, that I think it shows we're really doing some great work internally. Continuing the focus on internal, it's my pleasure to introduce Ben Walsh, the new director of the New York State Canal Corporation. Ben, welcome. As a
Hey, is that your younger brother?
8 years ago, they still fit.
Nice.
That's impressive.
let me just say, as former mayor of Syracuse, Ben's experience in economic development and community partnerships will be instrumental in advancing the work of the Canal Corporation. And we're delighted to have you. Welcome. And we look forward all here to working with you, as I'm sure the board does, to bring in the next 200 years of the enduring success of the New York Canal system. So maybe I'll stop there.
The next 200 are your responsibility. No small feat, you know, you're ready for it. I know you can handle it. We look forward to it, but all kidding aside, welcome aboard. We're excited to have you on this next phase and challenge for you and for us. So welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, President. Thank you, trustees. It really is an honor to be here. I'm a lifelong public servant, and I'm thrilled to be able to serve at a greater geography across the canal system. The folks that I've met both on the NYPA and Canal side have been incredible. Rebecca and Dave have a great team at Canals. And again, it's been exciting to get to know the NYPA side. So I'm really going to be focused on ensuring continued collaboration and growth among the teams. I have a lot to learn, so bear with me. But again, thrilled for the opportunity and very grateful.
We're thrilled to have you, so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can see we have fireworks display for you already.
Well, my birthday is on the 4th of July, so that is appropriate.
There you go. All right.
See you on the canal.
So just in wrapping up, we also start 2026 building on notable achievements in advancing our Vision 2030 renewed corporate strategy. It was approximately a year ago, I think, that we came before you with our Vision 2030 renewed. And we've continued to embed that Vision 2030 renewed strategy into all the work we do every day here. We've made a lot of progress already in year one in our 4 priority areas of clean energy, transmission, customers, and canals. On the clean energy front, we installed 17 megawatts of clean solar last year by Q3. On transmission, as I noted, Smart Path Connect energizes this year, and construction starts on Propel New York later this year. On the customer front, we helped achieve the Build Smart goal of reducing energy use by 11 trillion BTUs. And for canals, we continued the life extension of valuable infrastructure, an important part of our work. And these are just a few examples of the progress we're making under our renewed strategy. And we're proud of having the board's support in that strategy renewal process and your input as we designed it and launched it. And we're well positioned to execute the second half of our Vision 2030 strategy. So before I turn it over to Daniella Piper to go a little deeper on the Vision 2030 renewed and where we are, I thought I'd stop and take any questions you might have on my remarks and then turn it over to Daniella.
Obviously a very full plate and agenda. You talk about execution. You feel good about where the team's positioned, you know, overall, and you've got right people in the right seats on the bus to make it happen.
Absolutely. You know, we've had some, as we've been public and brought to you several new additions to the team, both on the renewables front and now on the nuclear front. And we continue to build out our capacity in our sort of day-to-day G&T work and customer work. So I'm really happy and excited about where the team is and where we are to launch our 2026 efforts here. And while we'll continue, as all organizations do, there's always a bit of an ebb and flow with staffing and so forth. But I think we're in a great position to execute. And this is going to be a year about execution. We've got some big tasks ahead of us. And so we're going to be laser focused on executing on the mission.
Thoughts, question for Justin? Anyone?
No.
Yeah, great job. Good job.
Thank you.
Looking forward to another super year. So
Thank you. Thank
terrific.
you. With that, I'll ask Daniella to come up. Thanks, Daniella.
Thanks, Justin. Danielle, always a pleasure. It's been a while. Nice to have you back.
It's good to be back. Good morning,
Did you have a good
everyone.
holiday, a little travel in there.
I did.
Got to see family. Everybody
I
good?
did. I did. I was warm over there.
Oh,
So-
yeah,
so
rub
that
it in. Go right
That
ahead.
was really good. That was really
Okay.
good. I needed that to withstand the deep freeze that we're in. So good morning, trustees. Good morning, colleagues and members of the public. My name is Daniella Piper. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at NYPA. I'm here today to talk a bit about how we're putting our corporate strategy into action. You heard a lot this morning already, right? You heard about all of the accomplishments that we've made so far. But today, as I begin, I just want to remind you about the conversation we had last year when I presented Vision 2030 Renewed. If you remember, Chairman, we talked about the corporate strategy being a living document. And so today, in addition to talking about how we're operationalizing the strategy, I'm really going to focus on how we are responding to the drivers of change with regard to the corporate strategy. So you may recall this slide, which we call the strategy on a page. It provides a high-level overview of our priorities, our pillars. In developing these, we really considered what our strengths were, the impacts that policy, technology, and customer demands were having on our business. We also considered the entire ecosystem, and we aligned on the 4 priorities that you see here on the page. And those are, I think it's worth restating them for the public, because really this is our North Star. And so to begin with, we're investing in transmission to support grid reliability and the integration of renewables. We're driving the clean energy transformation through emissions-free generation. We're delivering innovative energy solutions to our customers, and we're being stewards of the canal systems by enhancing public safety and prioritizing safe and secure investments. Our foundational pillars reflect our belief that as the world transforms around us, creativity and continuous improvement are key ingredients to a high-performing organization, and resilience is key to responding to disruption. We must live our values. How we do things is as important as what we do. And so, as you heard from Steve this morning, we're cultivating a safety-first culture while enhancing employee experience and empowering employees. And you can see from the results of our employee engagement survey, we're seeing results there. We're also committed to supporting a skilled and diverse energy workforce and ensuring that impacted communities are included in and benefit from the energy transition. So that's really our North Star. And so we all know that there's only one constant, and that is change. And so even the best plans require us to be nimble. So you heard a bit about this morning from Alexis. At NYPA, we're constantly evaluating changes, risks, opportunities to determine if they pose a risk or they present an opportunity for us to deliver greater value to our customers and New York as a whole. And so there are many groups who are involved in this. You see some of them on the page. You heard from the risk team this morning. And so we're continuously scanning the horizon and evaluating all of these drivers of change to inform business owners, leadership, and by extension, our business plans. So one of the forums I want to mention where we discuss these insights is during our monthly and quarterly meetings where we meet with tactic leads and executive sponsors who are really driving those changes. So as we take stock of 2025, one thing that's clear is that technology, consumer demands, and policy intersect to drive change at the federal, state, and state level. And so I want to highlight 3 items from a technology perspective to begin with: demand growth, distributed energy resources, and advanced nuclear. And Adam spoke well about demand growth this morning, but I'll just note that just overall electrification across sectors, coupled with reindustrialization and increased utilization of AI, it's compounded the surge in energy demand. I think we've all heard about the load growth challenge. The other thing I'll highlight is the transformation of the grid. Fundamentally, the grid is changing from a fully centralized grid to a distributed grid. And what we're seeing is that energy is flowing bidirectionally. And so this is really driving innovation to address increasing grid complexity and the need for coordinated planning as more and more devices are integrated at the distribution level. And this is what makes Agile so important, and its establishment and inclusion in that inventory of resources for innovators, for those who are seeking to de-risk technology, is really so important. The other thing I want to highlight is that when we spoke last year, there was already a buzz about advanced nuclear. And so really advanced nuclear, what that's about is really that you have simpler modular designs, which are intended to reduce capital cost. And they contain features that really make them inherently safer. And that's what's really exciting about them. That and the fact that they provide an additional pathway to decarbonizing the grid. So that's in terms of technology. On the policy side, what we saw that this new administration, not so new anymore, they mandated the early sunset of incentives for wind and solar. And they also mandated a deferred phase down of incentives for other clean energy technologies like geothermal and hydropower. In addition to that, we saw the administration deprioritize offshore wind, and they issued multiple stop work orders, as we all know. And I believe as of yesterday, I think they were all lifted. So it's on again, off again. So really a lot of uncertainty in that space. The other thing we saw was that there were executive orders that were issued with the goal of speeding the deployment of nuclear reactors, streamlining regulations, and increasing the deployment of reactors at military bases. And since that time, what we've seen is multiple announcements between the federal government, reactor vendors, and developers. We've heard about the Energy Dominance Office making loans available, low-cost financing available, and also the tax incentives that are available for nuclear. And we've also seen investments in strengthening the domestic enrichment for nuclear, signaling a deepening federal commitment to nuclear energy. So one thing that we do know is that there's bipartisan support for nuclear, and that's a positive thing. Now, at the state level, we know that the retirements of power plants is outpacing the addition of new resources. And so balancing the grid throughout this transition means that as we add more of these inverter-based resources like wind, like solar, we have to think about the attributes such as inertia, voltage, and frequency control, that are essential to a reliable grid. And this adds to the level of complexity of managing the grid and addressing the challenges, the integration of these resources, and ensuring that the grid continues to be reliable. The other thing that Justin mentioned was that, Governor Kathy Hochul has made affordability and reliability cornerstone of the state's energy strategy with an all-of-the-above approach to delivering abundant, clean energy to attract and retain industries like advanced manufacturing that provide good-paying jobs for New Yorkers. And one of the biggest stories of last year was when the governor directed NYPA to build 1 gigawatt of nuclear power. And that's something we're working towards, as Justin said. She also upped the ante, so to say, with the addition of 4 gigawatts to that goal in her State of the State address. So to just tie this all together, these advances in technology and customer demands, they inform federal and state policies. And so navigating the balance between compels us to make changes. So I'll talk about how we responded to some of those changes. And I hope you'll see that we've been very agile in our response. So in terms of the tax, phase down of tax incentives, union and management on the operations side, along with the finance team, developed and executed on a plan to accelerate the completion of the Niagara Robert Moses Unit 4 units, which Justin mentioned earlier. And that was the first step in pursuing tax incentives. And that's really a testament to our agility and our commitment to maximizing customer value. On the renewables front, NYPA secured exclusivity agreements with developers, and we safe harbored projects ahead of the July tax credit expiration. On the clean energy front, we now have a new tactic integrated into our strategic plan, and that is nuclear. And we're fast at work developing at least 1 gigawatt of nuclear. And Justin talked a bit about what we're doing. The only thing I'll add to that is that, we're following closely all of the announcements at the federal level, because there are real implications for developing nuclear economically if we can get loans from the federal administration and take advantage of the tax incentives that exist for nuclear. We also recognize the need for investment in workforce development to support nuclear. And so, as you know, we've committed $10 million annually for the next 4 years to support the build out of the nuclear workforce. And I think we are in a good position given all the work that we've already done in the workforce space. In addition, we recently onboarded our new SVP of Advanced Nuclear Development. So I just want to say that I don't think any of us last year could have guessed what was in store for the last 3 quarters of 2025, right? We spoke about Vision 2025 renewed in March, you approved it, and then all of this change happened, and we were able to respond to that change. So I think going back to the conversation this morning about the upside, right? Not always looking at the downside of risk. I think we were well positioned and we really stepped up to the challenge and made opportunities out of all of that uncertainty that we encountered last year. So as I wrap up, I wanted to turn a spotlight on a few accomplishments. I won't go through all of them because Justin covered most of them, and you've heard about some of them before. But I just want to remark that, as Joe usually says, we do all of this and we generate power. So last year, we generated 25 terawatt hours of clean power to the grid. On the transmission front, we tackled supply chain issues head on with a new critical path strategy. And as you know, we advanced Smart Path Connect to substantial completion. The other thing to note is that in addition to installing 7 megawatts of solar in conjunction with customers, we also, it's no surprise that solving the most challenging energy problem for our customers has made us top quartile in customer satisfaction and number 1 in customer satisfaction among New York State energy utilities. So I think that warrants congratulations to the team and probably a round of applause because that is really great recognition for us on how we serve our customers. The last thing I'll touch on, because I'm Chief Innovation Officer, is that we've also achieved top performer status in the Electric Power Research Institute's Global Innovation Effectiveness Benchmark. And so this benchmark assesses the relative performance of NYPA in several domains that are critical to innovation maturity and delivering greater value to our customers and the state. And so this benchmark is comprised of the world's largest data set of utility-specific innovation capabilities with over 40 organizations. So that was a real accomplishment for us. It's an increase in our maturity over the last time we were assessed, so we're very proud of that. And so, I've not talked about all of our accomplishments, but I know you'll be hearing about many of them in the weeks and the months to come. So as we look forward, we expect that we'll continue to experience rapid change and unprecedented uncertainty. And so we'll continue to be agile and innovative so that we can adapt and deliver for our customers and for the people of the state of New York. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any concern with the pace of change and continued expansion of expectations that we need to temper Vision 2030 in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I think a couple of things I'll just note. First of all, I think, NYPA has a well-established change management organization. And so in that regard, we're really ahead of many utilities in terms of how we think about helping manage change within the organization and driving adoption for change. There's all these big projects, but there's a lot happening within the organization, like our ERP platform replacement, which is a huge initiative, which a lot of our staff are involved in. In terms of like big infrastructure projects and these things that you see, I think internally, we're talking a lot about priorities. And so leadership is really committed to helping the organization really prioritize and apply focus to what we do and really try to eliminate the things that are not value creating. And thirdly, I'll say that I think in terms of our capacity, it's something that we're always looking at. And Karina can speak to this, right? How we address the demands on the organization, how we ensure we have the right capability and we have the capacity that's needed to address these challenges. So for nuclear, for example, because I'm involved in that, I know that Todd is looking at building out a team. We have, where we needed to, we have brought in third parties to support us where we don't have full-time staff, but certainly it will take time to build up the capability that we feel we need in-house. So I think it's sort of a multitude of actions we're taking to address the change, but it really is unprecedented and I think it'll continue to be so. So we'll have to continue to adapt.
Well, to me, you hit all the right buttons there in terms of how to triage, evaluate ongoing capacity, competency of the organization, and just want to ensure there's not unrealistic expectations on your part, or that you appreciate we want this to be disciplined and intentional versus getting too far out over our skis here. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the results of the engagement survey really speak well that we're creating an environment where staff feel that they can speak up as well. And ensuring that at the leadership level, there are conversations happening so that any issues sort of are brought to the fore and not left to fester. In terms of the priorities, one of the things we do when we talk about our tactics, right? I mentioned those monthly and quarterly meetings is, we ask the teams, do you have the resources to deliver? Are there challenges? So there's that kind of communication happening at different levels of the organization.
And you're confident people are comfortable in saying no, as opposed to we're pleasers and we want to do it and we know we can do it. So I just want to ensure there's, a good trusting environment here.
Yes, and we want to yes, the answer is yes, and we continue to work on cultivating that. I think that's part of that whole drive action that we want to create at NYPA.
I realize the answer is yes, but knows the answer sometimes. So, okay.
True. Thank you.
Other thoughts for Daniella? Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
job.
Right.
Great job, Daniella, as always. Appreciate your leadership. Okay. Joe, up and out of the seat already. Good man.
Thank you, Chairman, trustees, colleagues, and the general public. So today a lot was said here today. I just want to touch on what operations focus is in 2026 to support all this. So a little bit of what and a little bit of how in my presentation today. So on this slide, you see basically 6 key areas that I'll speak about here, but prioritizing the environmental stewardship and health and safety is always going to be paramount for us. It's not only what we do for communities, which we try to do from an economic development standpoint and stuff, but it's what we do to communities too as we develop these areas. And we're going to take the opportunity to not only think about the areas that we're developing, but adjacent areas as well. I've coached our teams in the customer side and development to make sure we're considering that as well. And internally around safety, you heard from Steve Rutledge earlier in the risk resilience meeting, a lot going on there, but always our focus, even though we have several other metrics to measure safety, is always 0 injuries for our employees. We also want to align with customer needs and meet them where they are at. What we learned in Decarbonization Leadership 15, for example, is that There's different capabilities of our customers. Some are very sophisticated in what they want to do and how they're going to master plan this, and some of them need a lot of support and subject matter expertise. So we're always willing to step in where they need us, and we can support them and get that done. We're there for them. We want to be very efficient in delivering the portfolio. We've talked about many projects that often get done, for example, Next Gen Niagara, in kind of a more sophisticated way than our traditional design bid build, to make sure we're meeting our milestones, hitting the budget, and getting the work done in an effective way. And it doesn't matter where the project comes from. As you can imagine, our delivery team gets projects from NYPA Renewables, NYPA development and transmission work, but it's also our ongoing portfolio of assets that we have to maintain and the new ones that are coming on board. And we're going to utilize advanced technologies. We've talked about that many times before. You've approved a number of things around robotics and drones and things like that, a lot of digitization. They create an enormous amount of visibility on these assets that give us a more confidence in what we're looking at and how we should address and prioritize the work. But also it's safer in many cases to use a machine than a person to do some of these inspections. Transmission, I'll get into a little bit deeper later in the presentation, but expansion is the key word here. There's so much going on and there's a lot of new assets. It's not just the transmission lines, but the substations and all the ancillary equipment that goes with it. And we want to make sure we're compliant in dealing with that as well. And as always, we're our hardest critic, our own hardest critic. So we're always looking at continuous improvement. Danielle talked about prioritizing our portfolio. That's how we do it. We have to optimize what we're maintaining right now and the resources that we have, so we can leverage those additional skills to the things that are coming before us in 26. So we don't just benchmark against the other utilities and other stakeholders. We benchmark against what we want to be. So that's kind of our theme there. Next slide, please. So consistent, this will look familiar from what Daniella presented, the 6 key areas, or 4 key areas rather, of our work streams for this Vision 2030. So again, it's really about focusing our portfolio on what we need to accomplish. So these are some examples of what they are in each of those categories. So in terms of supporting clean energy, Justin, Danielle, and others have already talked about Next Gen Niagara. That's the biggest one right now. It's just making sure that plant remains flexible, and that we can provide the energy we need. It's green resource. It needs the flexibility going forward. And we talked about the oncoming resources of potentially nuclear, renewables. They're a little less dispatchable, a little less variable than hydro is. So we want to make sure that this has a robust program that optimizes the operating range of those facilities as well. So, and as we spoke about, it's a longer term program. So we're going to learn from Unit 6, which we got into service late last year, 2025. And take that technology forward as we go into the next units. On transmission, it's really about what we're calling our Transmission 2035 program, which is aligning the organization to support basically all the oncoming assets that we have in place. As I said, there's a number of new substations, new transmission lines. And to dispatch our traditionally what we've been doing is dispatching centrally from the Clark Energy Center and Marcy to maintain. And there's some staff up in Messina and some staff down near BG as well. But we may need more resources in Western New York or down in the Southeast for sure, in the Southeast region, where there's a number of assets that are going to come into play. And we'll be coming to you with a more sophisticated presentation on the plan there, but it's going to engage obviously new people, new competencies, some potentially new control rooms and things like that. And we're also engaging labor very heavily on those discussions as these plans start to develop. On the canals, building on the success of World Canals Conference and the bicentennial, we're focusing now on the infrastructure. We talked a little bit about that in the risk and resilience meeting. There's a need to really take a look at the highest risk elements and attack those with the funding that we're getting from the state and the portfolio, as you pointed out, Chairman, the money that we're putting in ourselves to support that. So, welcome Ben. I'm glad he's here. We're going to be working very closely together in the future to make sure we're prioritizing the right work and make sure all the stakeholders that are involved are getting their voices heard too on what they are seeing. So again, prioritization is key. And you'll even see a recommendation from the Finance Committee today on some of that prioritization work with the Madison Dam work. And enabling customers to achieve their decarbonization goals. We need to strengthen the partnerships that we have with our customers. We've learned a lot about them with this outreach on decarbonization leadership. But day to day, our key account management teams got the ear of our customers, and we're trying to react to where they are and adapting these new technologies. We're going to continue to support that with audits and capital work that they need to do. And we're going to implement an enterprise-wide customer strategy to foster the customer-centric culture in our organization. We're getting some high scores on customer satisfaction. We want to leverage that, but we also want to maintain it and make sure we're doing the right things. So, and the other thing that's kind of new about this is we realized, and I know I actually hear from us, even some of the trustees over time from local stakeholders that you may be involved with, that our customers don't know all the competencies that we have. And sometimes it's not just the traditional economic development programs and things like that. We engage the entire enterprise to support whatever they need, whether it's questions on their distribution station, their substation, things like that. So the technical expertise we have here is incredible. So we're always looking to leverage that as well. Next slide, please. So this is just a representation of basically the resources we're putting toward it. It's the funding that we're doing in 26 and what we're planning to do. So on clean energy, again, Next Gen Niagara is very important. Those 13 generators at Robert Moses and the 12 pump storage units at LPGP are critical, but one we call our 14th unit is the crane that supports all of that work. If that crane's not working, we can't move ahead with the lifting out the key components of this. So that's going to be one of our major milestones this year, is to get that 630 ton crane. It's going to be actually upgraded to a 680 ton crane to make sure we can maintain that work on the overhauls. And that's expected to be completed this year, believe it or not. It's a pretty aggressive schedule for a crane. On transmission, we talked about what we're doing in terms of the organization, but we're very proud to say that we got part of Smart Path Connect in service. Key milestones were reached in November. We're merging 3 of the 10 substations were energized, and we're hoping that the outages line up and everything lines up, but we should have the entire full project completion at the this spring in 2026. And canals, regarding canals and about the initiatives for them, the inaugural Bethaida Triennial is taking place from June 6th to September 7th this year. It'll be a fun event. If you haven't been to Bethaida, I highly encourage it, as most of the canal communities are very, very special. I've been there a couple of times, and it's been great. But they'll feature 35 artists and collectives and a town-wide exhibition. And then this initiative builds on partnerships with art institutions and universities, and will continue into the next edition, which is in 2029. And as I mentioned regarding customers, just moving on the customer focused initiatives, we're going to keep enhancing our energy solutions to meet customers' evolving needs, using R&D, innovation, renewables. Again, our portfolio of services that our customers can leverage is pretty incredible. So this year, over 250 eVolve and customer EV charging stations, including the MTA eBest project at Gun Hill Depot, will be operational. And we'll expand the direct lighting LED lighting program with 130 new site installations as well. So our customer strategy focuses on affordability, staff upskilling, and leveraging and maintaining that high customer satisfaction results to strengthen long-term relationships and establish our position to be a trusted advisor, trusted partner to our customers. The last slide is just a little bit of a treat. Hopefully it works out. I'm pointing to Glenn and Dominic, as I was told to, but this year, I'd like to take a moment to recognize a significant milestone, 65 years, the anniversary of first power generation and Niagara Power Project. So we were fortunate that in September of last year, the board was able to have a meeting at Niagara and see that wonderful asset. We shared some overview of the project then, but this is just a reminder that the construction was a remarkable event that happened from 1958 and successfully culminated into first power in January of 1961. So to commemorate this achievement, we'll watch the video that highlights the impact of the Niagara Power Project through the voices of some influential public folks from that time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
This is President John F. Kennedy speaking from the White House. You have gathered here today to celebrate the delivery of the first power from the fabulous Niagara Power Project. And I am happy to join with you, your fellow trustees, staff, consultants, contractors, and workers in this field in welcoming this great achievement. This great power project signifies a new and more prosperous era for the Niagara frontier, and is an example to the world of North American efficiency and determination. I congratulate you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, former President Dwight D. Eisenhower.
The achievement reflects enlightened international, national, and state leadership in cooperation. The mighty power of the Niagara has been harnessed for the public good, and the beauty of historic Niagara Falls has been preserved for all time.
It means a better life for men, women, and children of a wide area of this state. This, then, is an accomplishment that is indeed worthy of the mightiest state in the Union, and a great giant stride toward a bright new era of production and prosperity and human advancement. To all concerned, I say, well done.
After long, stultifying, and maddening delays and obstructions, it has, through persistence and I suppose luck, finally come about. Some of us have been privileged to have witnessed this international frontier drama unfolding at the beginning and to have survived to see it well on the road to full realization. We have had our reward, and the public owes us nothing. I know that I speak for my fellow power trustees and for all those too numerous to mention by name who by head, heart, hand, indoors and out, brought about this result.
So inspirational, and it's kind of like a locker room speech for me in terms of like what we're about to go into. To hear some of these words, I think would be relevant today for what we're about to tackle. So with that concludes my report, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Yeah, great presentation, Joe.
Very good. Thank you.
Nice, hard to believe 65 years ago. Place looks
brand new.
Yeah, it does. It does. Thoughts, Joe, anybody? Lewis, anything from afar?
I just have to say, Joe and team, you are all maintaining the legacy of excellence. And I was just struck by that video. I would love it if you can share that video with the trustees here. Just demonstrated the partnership, the leadership from presidents to governors to the NYPA board. That is a wonderful kickoff to 2026 and the next 65 years. So kudos, and please thank everyone who's in operations, who's in technology, our exceptional workforce, our union colleagues throughout the organization. That's a great way to kick off 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll be sure to pass those wishes along. We'll certainly get you copies of that video.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Thanks very much for that, Lewis.
I think we have Dave for an item next.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. You're working my agenda here. But
I didn't know if it was part of my.
Yeah, just stay in your lane, Joe. You're doing fine. You were doing fine, Joe. No, very good. Thank you very much for facilitating that, Joe. Next up, as Joe's already said, is Dave Mellen. He mentioned, Joe did, that delivering a third tug vessel and the like is on the list, but this is tug number, this is it. Is this number 3 or number 2?
Number 3.
Number 3, here we come, the Waterford.
So good afternoon, everyone. Trustees, colleagues, members of the public. So yes, so I'm going to briefly present to you.
1201, Dave, way to go. You're right on your game.
Well, Chad helped me out here. So.
Okay.
So I'm going to briefly present a naming recommendation for this third tug that's due to arrive at canals later this year. Brief history, in 2023, $35 million contract approved by the board for 4 tugs, 2 of which have already arrived. The tug Grosso and the tug Rome. The third is what we're talking about. And we need to give this thing a name before production is completed. So before I unveil the new name, I'd like to share a very brief video.
We've had the tugs on the canal since the 1920s, some of them that are still in use today. Their main purpose has been for waterway maintenance, so that includes the dredging operations and support the install of the aids to navigation, removal of any kind of debris, and just overall maintenance. We currently have a few tugboats still in the system that are in the older fleets. Some of those will not actually pass the new regulations that were put forth by the United States Coast Guard. So the purpose of these new tugs will be the replacement of those. We started upgrading the fleet of vessels on the Erie Canal system. That started with the push boats, which we took delivery of 10 new push boats that were just under 26 feet. We're moving forward with 4 new tugboats, which we've already taken delivery of 2, including the Grosso and the Rome.
When I first got this project under my belt, they're like, oh, Hugh, would you like this? I'm like, of course, I think it's interesting. And they said, you know, our fleet is anywhere from age from the 1930s to the 1950s. And I'm like, and it's still in operation? Our goals were to have ice-breaking capability, for sure. That was number 1. 2, modernized fleet. 3, more operability from our captain's standpoint. When people hear that you're building tugs, I mean, no one knows what you're talking about. Here, we're used to, again, dams and civil structures, and they're like, we do that? And yes, you can do anything at NYPA and canals.
We are very excited to have these new additions to our fleet. They will certainly add to the safety and efficiency of our operation. We look forward to having them on the system for the next 50 years or so.
Okay, so that is a sneak peek into some progress on the vessel front. Some of our colleagues doing a great job making all this happen. You know, as we've discussed before, there are some guide rails surrounding names for vessels per the canal policy on this, and basically it's limited to individuals with significant contributions to the canals, geographic locations within the canal corridor, and also phrases or words that reflect the spirit of the canal. So guardrails on names. The naming committee, comprising myself, Trustee Gonzalez, and Rebecca Hughes, are recommending naming the new tugboat Waterford in recognition of the town of Waterford's historical significance, which includes, but is not limited to, being known as the gateway to the Erie Canal. It's the eastern terminus of the Erie Canal. It's also home to the Waterford Flight of 5 locks built in 1915, which is one of the, well, it is the highest lift within a canal system in the world. It's 169 feet of lift and a variety of other items. So this vessel is the sister to the Grosso and the Rome. It's similar in most ways. There's a handful of differences, but they're generally minor, and it's a critical piece of equipment for us. So in conclusion, I'm asking for the board's approval to name our new tugboat the Tug Waterford.
B, anything you want to add to that as a committee member?
I think that if you haven't been to the Waterford lock, you should go, because it is spectacular in terms of the way it's designed, but also the sculpture that is there is very emotional and quite touching, and in tribute to the people who built it.
All with the benefit of that presentation, that endorsement, and any other thoughts Rebecca might have wanted to add?
Just say, I don't know if people can hear me. I think what's really special here too is that this name came from the ranks. So, you know, it's something that was really a grassroots advocacy on behalf of staff in that section. And as you can see here, there's been multiple generations of Tug Waterford that have served on the system. So I'm really proud that that came from our operations team and the lock staff.
Super. So B, would you like to make the motion
Yes, I would.
to name tug number 3, the Waterford?
Absolutely.
We
I'll
have
second.
A second, Cecily, thank you very much. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Louis. And we have, we've given birth to tug number 3, the Waterford.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thanks for your good work there.
Could you just give us a little timeline for the naming of the 4th? Just so that,
Well,
what you're thinking at all? Or?
Yeah, I think I know there was some discussion on this name and the process, perhaps for the 4th tug to somehow get some of the younger folks or communities or, you know, a different spirit or larger crowd involved. So the next tug is expected to arrive in 2027. So plenty of time to collaborate, you know, on a, you know, rather than maybe a little more narrow naming committee, maybe it's a different type of effort to arrive at a name. So.
Yeah, great. Grassroots effort. That's always good. So that's wonderful. Okay. Thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate it. Okay, Adam. Saw you up there shoveling dirt at Micron. You're doing a fine job representing
Was
the
it really
organization.
dirt, Adam?
It was heavy lifting. You're doing a lot of heavy lifting that
Well,
day.
yeah, they actually needed somebody who knew how to shovel. And I've been shoveling it for a pretty long time,
Yeah,
so.
I get that. You were sequestered last week
Yeah.
in New Orleans and you're now back here at the podium. So take us away.
Sure. And I do apologize in advance. I don't, unlike Joe and Dave, I don't have a video to accompany my presentation. I tried, but they had exhausted all the funds that were available for that, so.
You're staying on budget. I like
Yeah,
it.
staying on budget.
All right.
So just to, it doesn't come up on here. We had a discussion about this at the Finance Committee. So just to reiterate that we are, finishing the year while ahead of target, really coming in at the number that we had reforecasted back towards the end of summer. So when we upped our forecast, as we do on a regular basis, we sort of came in at what we were projecting back then. Obviously, driven by stronger revenues, and expenses were well controlled on the O&M side. Some more non-interest or non-operating income also contributed. So to go a little bit further than what we said at finance, just to show about the major profit center contributors. As you can see here, Niagara did slightly better than their target. St. Lawrence did significantly better than their target. BG had what we had spoken about earlier is probably a record year for BG, doing over $19 million above their target. Fossil fuels slightly below, yet those are the small clean plants, but Flynn did better by 8 million. So together they were kind of both on target. Transmission significantly better, and I think we talked about that during the year in terms of the true up and additional revenues that came in from the transmission operations. And CES, the Customer Energy Solutions Group, their income was ahead of their target, and a lot of that I think was had to do with the work we did with the MTA, putting in the bus charging, significant amount of work, and it went sort of ahead of schedule and was a real success. As Joe mentioned, we're going to do more of that this year in 26. Canals came in as well, better than target in terms of what was originally projected in terms of how much they would lose. They had additional revenues by recovering some FEMA money from past storms. They also had some money from some old equipment they had auctioned during the year. Expenses came in lower in terms of some of the benefits like OPEB they were allocated came in lower than projected. So all of that had them coming in about, below where it was originally forecasted in the budget. So those were the major items there. So that's really just a windup of 25 where we sit today. We're obviously going through the audit with the external auditors. We'll be back in March, for that final report. Nothing coming up today that would indicate any of this would change. Any questions on any of this?
I thought that's a great depiction of how the business lines and what drives the bus and how you we otherwise allocate resources to support other aspects of who we are and what we're about. Yep. So good picture there, good snapshot. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
And kudos on a great year again.
Yep.
So.
No, thank you on behalf of the team at large. Looking ahead now to 26, we'll talk a little bit about business services. How we view our role in putting our plan and our goals together. We view ourselves as being helping to advise, develop, and enable the organization to reach its strategic goals in any way we can, and a lot of different ways we touch the rest of the organization, but there to be supportive and help accomplish whatever our strategic goals are that we set out to do. And so we sort of break it up into these 4 different areas: tactical, financial planning framework, and that supports strategy. So I think we spoke during the year about our plans to create these off-balance sheet structures that will enable us to take on more projects without burdening our balance sheet with a lot of debt. We're looking to do that on the Propel project in terms of our buy-up option. We provided some information to you earlier in the year, and we're continuing to work towards that. It may have some applicability as we think about other big projects like nuclear, some opportunities there. Obviously, using NYRED as our subsidiary to do non-recourse project financing around our renewable projects and trying to get those financed in the traditional, I would say, bank market to begin with. But as they get a critical mass, we'll try to, pull those and try to get those refinanced as a group, hopefully saving, even more money for the renewable projects. Further enhance our capital capacity modeling. And I think there was some discussion earlier about how we try to balance, what are those things we need for strategic priorities while maintaining our state of good repair projects so that our asset management and our critical infrastructure, is kept up to where it needs to be. So I think that big balance and the priority and the scoring that we do, both with strategy and risk, helps inform which projects happen when. So I think that's something that needs to continue. On the business transformation side, we have many projects that are underway here. Obviously, the big one is Luminate. We will talk more about. We also have a project Beacon, which is more analytical. That's below Luminate. Project Hub is a way to sort of connect all different people on large projects on project management data, mostly on a construction side. Both the financial piece, the operational piece, project delivery, procurement, everybody managing those projects with more information, and integrating AI through all of these eventually. And we'll talk a little bit about that for Project Illuminate, where we see, I think, the biggest opportunity to do more of that. On the insurance and business control side, we have a lot of single audit act work we need to do. Anytime we get a federal grant over, I think it's $750,000 now, we have to do a single audit act. So we have to do a single audit around all of those grants. So we're going back and trying to make sure we're in compliance with all those federal rules. Tax credit optimization, we talked about that new Unit 6. We have to now file with the IRS for the production tax credit. And we have to do, find out how we get all the safe harboring for all the renewable projects by July. So trying to move those all ahead and get those done on time. And trying to use the captive insurance company to broaden what we can do. We talk about trying to get catastrophic insurance around wildfires or other assets that we don't currently have insured. So how can we continue to leverage that resource? On the development side, we want to put 500 megawatts or more under commitment by the end of the year, try to get more. Try to get all those projects in by July for credits. And advance Propel and the Stewart Uniondale Hub to have those start construction by the end of the year. And try to refresh our renewable strategy. See where we go post-July. What changes in what we do. Next. This is Luminate. There are 3 parts of that. It's SAP for financial, Invalua for procurement, and Workday. Working with John Canale on Invalua. Karina's taking a lead on Workday and trying to put all those 3 together to work cohesively. This will enable us to integrate AI in the future, have it in the cloud, and so that it's never obsolete. It's always being updated whenever there is a change. Any questions? This is just a timeline. Try to get this done by early summer, testing, and have it go live.
What's the status now? How are you tracking and trending?
The good news is so far so good. We are okay. But the
No
rubber,
major surprises yet, or no?
no big ones. I think we always anticipated things would come up along the
Sure.
way.
Sure.
But I think that the real rubber is going to meet the road when we do all the testing. See, is it working the way we expected?
Karina talked earlier about trying to minimize customization and the like, some of the things that can take you down rabbit holes.
Right. So one of the beauties of the project is that there's very little room to customize. You have to really stay within what was originally designed and planned.
Okay. September 1st, we're gonna have a party. Go live.
We hope.
Hope's not a strategy. Adam, you know that. Okay.
Yeah, and this just gives you a flavor of all the different things that are involved. We have 100 different people that are involved, either 50% or 100% of their time. And but this really hits everybody in the organization. So can't minimize the effort, I think, that was being talked about earlier, that this is really organization-wide.
Don't minimize the anxiety and stress either that it's going to put on the people that are implementing. It's really important.
So
Adam's used to creating anxiety.
Unlike you.
Yeah. And 1 month in, feeling good financially, nothing. It's been cold. So the bad news has been cold. The good news is it's been cold.
Right. It's been cold. We have a lot of issues up in North Country with ice.
Yeah.
Have to be worked through. So get through this period. I think January will be a strong month overall, but I think we're on our way for a good 26.
Okay. Any other questions for Adam?
Thank you, Adam.
Louis, you still out there? Okay. Thanks very much, Adam. Appreciate it. All right, Alexis, we had a good and engaging committee meeting earlier, but had a few thoughts and perspectives.
Yes, so trustees, colleagues, members of the public, hello again. As you've been hearing all morning, we have hit the ground running in 2026 with a full plate of ambitious objectives across NYPA and canals through our renewed 2030 strategy. And against this, we have to plan to deliver against a backdrop of continual external changes, increased complexity, and greater interconnectedness. So we're monitoring near-term actual developments as well as long-term potential shifts that could affect our priorities and impact how we deliver. So today I'm going to start by sharing with you, just for perspective, the latest outlook on the top 10 risks worldwide as published by the World Economic Forum. It is based on evaluation by over 900 experts across all sectors, including business, academia, government, et cetera. It considers risks over the next 2-year period, and that's the left side of the colorful graphic, as well as 10 years, which is on the right. Now, this looks like kind of a tangle of pool noodles, so I am going to break it down and help you get some simple takeaways from this. On this left-hand part, you'll see in the short term, you won't be really surprised to recognize a high level of concern around geopolitical and economic conflict. Those are the yellow bars, as well as corresponding multitude of societal threats. And those are the red ones, including things like polarization, poverty, inequity. Peppered in are typical technological risks in blue, things related to information and cybersecurity, and also green environmental risks such as weather and pollution. Now, if we trace the movement over to the right, you notice a different pattern through the next 10-year decade. We anticipate less geopolitical tension. So you'll see the yellow bars are gone. We also see a decrease in societal concerns, so less red. However, we are seeing a potential for proliferation of environmental issues, you'll see much more green and going more towards the top, along with technology risks in blue, even as some of the impacts may look like they're becoming better managed. Another thing I'd like to point out is that, interestingly, extreme weather events rise to the very top in this particular view, and it represents a really interesting example of the convergence of risk, resilience, and sustainability. This is part of the reason why we look at that together, and it also helps to reinforce how our climate and environmental commitments remain relevant. This is a broad risk landscape that may unfold in the background as we are executing our plans. And of course, it will continue to evolve. But reports like these just serve as a valuable sense check, and they help prevent us from being too myopic. Now, bringing it closer to home, on the right side, you'll see our current top watch list for the authority for canals and NYPA. These are more specific, and they're based on local, state, and energy sector and related considerations that more directly tie in with our mission and vision. If you think of these, they're more like the double or triple click down. Again, you'll not be surprised to see what we think are some of the most important things to be monitoring. And this includes the volley of continued federal action and judicial response, local reliability needs, demand growth, regional energy pricing, things that we've heard in discussions earlier today through Adam and Daniella, development of nuclear technologies and players, the interplay of tariffs, conflicts, and supply availability, both opportunities and concerns that arise with AI. And so while we do not speculate about any of these, we do want to remain informed so that we can identify options and, most importantly, keep them open. Then, as we focus on the mighty electron and generating and transmitting power, Joe, our large portfolio of hydro assets and canals literally lead us to water. And so we also are considering factors that could impact key water sources like the Great Lakes that we rely upon for so much of our asset base. But then closest to home, we're mindful that the most important factor in our ability to deliver is our people. And so we will be continuing to be mindful and monitor for the capacity constraints as we work to deliver. And that's our final and most important factor that we're monitoring. If we could go to the next slide, please. Then bringing that all together, our priorities for risk, resilience, and sustainability in 2026 actually represent a balanced mix that addresses both the short and long-term outlooks. So you'll see we've bucketed them in two different text boxes, sorry. In the short term, if you recall from the prior slide, the risks are much more diversified. So helping us to navigate through current conditions will be the fact that we will continue to have the Federal Transition Working Group to keep scanning the horizon and those developments. This cross-functional group that's working on improving flow and generation forecasting, as well as we're rolling out a model risk framework to help us look more deeply at some of the most critical models that we use for forecasting across the authority, putting some guardrails in place and making sure that there are consistent paths for escalation and review, and especially for change management. We're providing in-depth credit analysis and monitoring, and we heard some of that this morning in our Risk and Resiliency Committee meeting, but expanding beyond that, we have capabilities to help assist NIRED where applicable in looking at potential partners and helping to do some monitoring of those as well. We're kind of excited to be introducing a supplier code of conduct, which is not mandatory, but is helping to demonstrate our commitments to ethical supply management. And that will go out to our suppliers and give recommendations regarding a variety of things from anti-discrimination, accessibility, environmental considerations, et cetera. Of course, these do not supplant state and federal law, but they are just helping to enlighten our suppliers more about our values and our expectations. We've presented a few times about how we're in the process of developing our next 5-year sustainability plan, and that's kind of on the cusp between the near term and the long term. And then aligning assurance, we spoke about that this morning, and that's the way that we're looking at bringing insights forward, but also looking at the capacity commitments upon our business when we have multiple processes, and we're looking to streamline that for better effectiveness and to get a quicker time to value. In that longer term, where if you recall, more of the risks skew towards environment and technology, we're incorporating sustainability impact assessments. If you recall from this morning's Risk and Resiliency Committee, when we spoke about our enterprise level risks, we noted how we were not going to have a separate and standalone ESG risk anymore. We're really integrating sustainability thinking into our planning and the way that we approach many of our assessments, and very much specifically so, climate scenarios. We've had a few projects underway looking at the vulnerability of our generation and transmission assets, potential impacts on the Great Lakes over a span of multiple decades. Again, this is just eyes wide open. These will all change over time, but it's just important to keep in mind and to make sure that we're integrating with the operations team to share these learnings. We're implementing transmission resilience program. We've spoken a few times about how important these projects are as we expand that portfolio. And Chairman, to your point this morning, if we do actually have a risk, if we do step over a line, advancing our readiness and response and recovery processes and action plans are really important. We're bringing those together very holistically and looking at ways to make sure that they align and correspond, and we can streamline them where possible so people do know what to do easily if something happens. And we've spoken a bit all this morning about how we develop new tools, including the use of AI where appropriate. One such example is in our energy commodity risk management system, which is also in the process of being upgraded. That will help us to perform some more sophisticated market and credit risk analyses. With that, of course, we just continue to stay abreast and looking externally for some other sources of information around others' assessments of risk so that we are apprised and we're keeping our eyes open. And the most important step of all is, of course, interfacing back with strategy. Daniella spoke this morning about the importance of making sure that we act in an agile fashion in looking at our vision and in executing it. And so the conversations that happen across risk and strategy and other teams, it keep that feedback loop in place so that we do have time to make adjustments as necessary. That's my plan.
Sticking with it, huh?
Sticking with it. Thank you, Trustee Trainor. Any questions or comments?
Well presented, well stated. And as we spent what better part of an hour and a half this morning, always impressed that you're doing a great job leading the organization. Risk management's always been essential, always been critical for any entity's success. These are wild and crazy times, and to see the maturity and sophistication of our risk management processes and tools and focus and culture continue to evolve to at least keep pace and ideally stay ahead's important and comforting to all of us as a board. So well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you all.
Anything else for Alexis? All right, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so as you've heard referenced, we've had a couple of committee meetings since we were last together. Finance was a week ago, and Risk and Resiliency this morning. On the finance front, we have 3 items that we approved to be brought forward to a full board today. First is almost $22 million. Joe referenced the Messina Transmission Life Extension and Modernization Project. And that would bring the total for that initiative to just short of $67 million. So it's an additional $22 million there. 2, you also heard referenced the need for continuing investment in canals infrastructure. Madison Reservoir Dam at the top of that, or if not at the top, very near the top of our exposures. And what do we say, 193, 130, whatever it was, years old. The good news is it's 193 years old. The bad news is it's 193 years old. And it needs a refresh to the tune of $52 million. And we approved a 4-year contract to be awarded to Kubricki Joint Line for the better part of that $47 million, and with some additional contingency to cover the redo of that one. And lastly, while smaller in number, equally important in stature, $4 million to further support our clean energy workforce training initiative. I think there's 7 different entities here. The Knowledge House in the Bronx, $1.4 million of the 4 million, and another half a dozen where it's allocated as well to continue to do good work and hopefully not only better enable individuals to get in the game, but change some lives and elevate the quality of life there as well. So unless there's any questions, I'd ask for a motion to approve those 3 items that were recommended from Finance Committee a week ago. Thank you. There's second, third, and fourth in there. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. And as we've chatted this morning, we had a active Risk and Resilience Committee meeting
Do
chaired
you
by.
want me to summarize? Everybody was here, John. It's up to you.
Give it your best shot, Cecily.
did?
For the record, Karen would be disappointed if you don't.
All right. We had our presentation from Alexis in the Risk and Resiliency part of our meeting today. And we talked about the 2025 year-end enterprise risk summaries, risk management maturity assessment, merchant hedging strategy, and credit risk management. These are all presentations from the team, workforce security risk management, and physical security risk management. All very good presentations, all informational and much appreciated by me as the chair, but I think by the whole board here today. Tom Spencer presented the year-end enterprise risk report. There was slight positive movement. My takeaway from Tom is he remains very positive about where we're going and what we're doing. Let's see. In the risk management maturity assessment results, we've exceeded some benchmarks for state and local governments, electric and gas industry, banking, finance, insurance industries. As we noted, we met our target maturity level, maybe exceeded it a little bit, and we'll continue to do that. Dennis Chang presented the results of the merchant hedging program from last year. Also, I noticed with him remains very positive with our outlook. Same from Eric, who what I appreciated was him talking about how they work together and they work in unison and they communicate, and that was pretty obvious and about how beneficial that is for those of us on the Board of Trustees. Steve Rutledge, who's been here, he said about a year now, gave a good presentation about our workforce safety and the things that he's looking at, what he's brought into the program. And I would just remark for that sometimes when somebody comes in from away, they come in with new ideas or they have an ability to kind of take a look at how we're doing and appreciate what we're doing really, really well and make suggestions about what we can do better. And I heard that in Steve's presentation today. Larry was quick to the point, but also, again, very positive, talking about evolving physical security risks and the ability of NYPA to keep going. Again, what a positive presentation, how hard his team is working. It was just overall a great committee meeting, I thought. We adopted the previous meeting's minutes and look forward to our next full risk and resiliency in September. That's my summary.
Thank you for your recap, and thank you for your leadership in chairing that committee. No actions require approval on our end. We all had an opportunity to review the consent agenda before us. Unless anyone has any questions relative to some of the recommendations and items there, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Dennis. The second.
Second.
Michael, thank you. Cecily, 2B on that. Otherwise, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda carried.
Just a quick, for everybody on the board, maybe Dennis and I got our copies, but Maribel Cruz Brown provided the report on effectiveness of the recharge New York Power Program as part of our EdPAB meeting today. There's extra copies on the table over there. Along the lines of how we're always kind of wondering, how are we doing? What impact does this have? This is going to tell you what that is. I believe it was provided to the governor. Okay, so there's extra copies. It's going to tell you how we're doing.
We're doing very well.
Doing very well, but
Doing very
it's nice
well.
to see it in print.
All right, unless there's any other matters to come before us, I'm pleased to bring the meeting to a close. I thank everyone for their participation and active engagement. It's always a pleasure to have everyone with us. We're back together in the better part of 2 months. March 31st, I guess, is our official date. Obviously, we have no Bills in the Super Bowl, so that's a bit of a downer. There is a Super Bowl Sunday. I kind of have lost track of that, but hope everyone does enjoy that nonetheless. Eat some wings and think of us. We'll be back next year. Otherwise, if I could have a motion to adjourn the meeting. All right, Laurie, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Have a great day. Stay warm, stay safe. And we'll see you in March.